What's good, Black Star Podcast? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Jared. Y'all, if y'all thought that I was very critical of Kamala Harris, you obviously haven't seen what Judge Joe Brown had to say about this woman. Now, today we're going to be taking a video from Art of Dialogue, and yeah, Judge Joe Brown is very critical of this woman, and he actually agrees with Trump. So let's see what he got to say.
How you feel about Trump calling Kamala Harris a bum?
She is. She's one of those career prosecutors that suffers from character deficits. She's one of these people that has absolutely no connection with what the hell was going on. She wasn't a student at a time when there were opportunities, but she could have made some to go out and made a difference in her community that she claims, but she didn't. And her claim is a false one. So I don't appreciate her taking advantage of the situation. I think it is unfair to the people who she is making a false claim of identity with. And it also is not fair to the people she ought to be identifying with. See, we have a lot of Indians that have immigrated into the United States. They're fine people, but they've got one big problem, that is the transplantation of untouchability into America. That's the caste system. You may have somebody that's a multimillionaire that owns the company and the office building, and if he comes from the untouchable caste and somebody who's Indian does not, brushes up against the boss coming out of a conference, they have to go through a purification ritual. That kind of nonsense needs to have no place in the United States of America. So she's a Hindu, but yet she has done absolutely nothing to better the condition of the many Hindu or Sikh or other people from India, the Tamil Brahmin caste, whatever. She's done absolutely nothing to make their condition better here in the United States except to grin about it. So she's not doing anything for us. She was essentially in California the number one enemy for young black folk. So what has she done? And why should I emulate her or support her when on an objective basis, and I took a checklist, how many people did you help out? How many people did you condemn when you had the opportunity to deliver justice and equity? How many did you do? How many did you do the opposite with? Got a whole lot. Oh, man. How many people on a certain side did you help exploit people? All of these folk that got jacked up with those crooked mortgages, who lost their homes, you didn't do a damn thing to help them out. You helped out the fat cats who were ripping them off, Soros and Mnuchin. You didn't help out my three neighbors who were losing their property. You didn't help out the other people who were in jeopardy of losing their property or got caught up in a trick bag that other counties should return 5,200 indictment counts trying to protect them. You dismissed them, so somebody that's raising money for your political ambitions gets to sell the company for $4.2 billion.
So this woman was way more crooked than we thought. And what gets me is black Americans are being duped by this woman. And I'm going to say this. I believe Judge Joe Brown had nothing to lie about. Judge Joe Brown has nothing to lie about when it comes to this. Why would he lie? Like, this woman is literally This woman has literally lied to all of us, duped us all about this. And the bad part is, you know what? I'm gonna let him finish.
I could go on. I'll give you another illustration. It's kind of funny. What do they call somebody black mixed with somebody white?
Black.
Yeah. If somebody is black mixed with somebody that's Chinese, what do they call them?
Black.
Somebody's mixed with somebody that's Indian, what do they call them? Meaning Hindu type Indian.
They call them black.
But her people acknowledge she's a Hindu. So how do you beat the rule if you have the rule applied to you? That's because she's not. She's a fake. So what are you protecting? See, that's the question. And I'm not dissing AKAs. My own mother was an AKA. She pledged 1934. She's ivy behind the wall. She's been dead for a while. Loyal AKA for years, decades. I'm not bad-mouthing them, but I got license to make a comment about it. It's like, you see, when somebody's down and has a poor or negative self-concept or perception, they'll seize on anything to make themselves look better. You can even take connection. Look at what was happening in Germany in the 1920s and 1930s. Germany only became a country in the 1870s. So they weren't even 50 years old in the 1920s. That's within the lifetime of a lot of people who weren't even as old as I am now, where Germany had become a country. You had had a lot of pride. You just got your behind whipped in World War I, and you needed a scapegoat. You wanted something to identify with. Somebody started telling you about your glorious heritage, and you were dealt with as descendants of kings and queens. Sound familiar? Who ruled things, and they were blonde-haired, blue-eyed supermen, Aryans from the far north. Well, the problem is Aryans do exist. They're technically in anthropology known as Indo-Aryans, but they look like Kamala and her daddy, and they come from India. And they did have something to do with Germany. But you see, you told a lie, and people seized on it. If you listen to some of the woke folk, particularly black ones, they have shall we say, a revision of history to make identifications with certain groups that they think give them status.
And what he means by that is the LGBT, the black boule, if you look at it from a strategic standpoint, their goal is to throw you off, make you believe that they're telling you the truth when they're not. See, the thing is, when it comes to situations like that, you have to look in between the lines. Look for the lies, which there are a lot. If you start thinking with logic, it starts to break down every little thing that they say. It breaks it down to code, if you want to be honest, in computer terms. It breaks it down into code. It breaks it down to the point where it sounds like they're telling you the truth. But as soon as you start thinking about it, as soon as you start listening, as soon as you start putting your brain to use when you're listening to them, you start to see through what they're saying. It sounds like the truth, but then you look at reality and look at what they're saying, it doesn't match up.
You know what I'm talking about, some of the things that are out there. That's the same thing they did with the Germans in the 1920s and 1930s. So what goes on when you do this, there is a tendency, black females particularly show this, to seize on something they can identify with, to give themselves a false pride. They already have enough to be proud of if they actualize their own potential. But they have not been raised, acculturated, and socialized to think that way. So you have to give them something that has the semblance of respectability that they can identify with. So they identify with Kamala Harris as a successful black woman. But Kamala Harris didn't particularly go to the first class undergrad school. The law school was the same. It wasn't like she busted her ass in all of these jury trials and she did what Johnny Cochran did back in the 60s when he was working at the DA's office and then when he got in private practice. It wasn't like she made these landmark cases, took these civil rights things up and made history with them. It wasn't like that. It's she screwed her way to the top through a series of paramours who helped her out. Anybody can do that. So you've got this subconscious thing by the black woman saying, I could do that.
Now, for those of you who had smoked for me when I said that she had slept her way to the top, you see, I'm not the only one that's saying that. That woman had no logical explanation as to how she got to what she got. It's not through her own abilities. We all know that she didn't necessarily, to be honest with you, we all know she didn't necessarily get that position, get into power because of her smarts, I might add. But maybe I'm wrong.
But on the other hand, I want to ignore that. And I want to say she got there on by grace of her accomplishments. No, she has none. But you see, it's something to identify with. A sister got to be vice president of the United States. I'm black and I'm proud. Well, she's not black. She's not being proud of what you got conned. So why don't you just say, I just need to work hard and I will be able to look in the mirror and I don't need a Kamala Harris. I can look at myself and say, I'm that person. I'm that entity. I'm that kind of hero or heroine, see.
You know, there's something that could be said about what Judge Joe Brown said. Y'all can call him a hater, y'all can call him all of this shit, but the thing about what he's saying is not wrong. And then there's a whole lot more to what's going on, and I might actually do another video on this. As you see, I'm adding it, but I might do another couple of videos on this because, and I might do this one right here talking about Trump, because this actually needs to be explained. And honestly, I'd rather Judge Joe Brown explain it to you and me go based upon what I'm hearing from him, because if you want to be honest, I trust a lot. I trust what comes out of Joe Brown's mouth, other than a politician that's trying to sit here and say that this woman is black. I trust more of what comes out of his mouth. But yeah, guys, if you want to be honest with you, I don't see a reason why Judge Joe Brown will lie about her as a person. But to be honest with you, I don't believe that she got to what she's at in her political career based upon her efforts. I believe she did sleep her way to the top. I believe she did. Because if you ask her anything about what she says, if you ask her any part of her policy, she can't bring up any policy that's going to be conclusive enough for black people or for people in general. It makes no sense, especially what she says. But anyways, guys, like, share, subscribe to the channel, support the podcast, inspire.com. I'll see you guys on the flip side. Thank you guys for listening. If you guys want to support the podcast, please go to patreon.com /Black Star Podcast. Or you can go to Cash App and hit me up at Cash App $Skyrocket04, and I will catch you guys later. Bye, guys.